Hi, everyone. Welcome to Model UN Talks podcast powered by Manas Across Borders World MUN Day. I'm your new host, Soumya Arora, and today we have the pleasure of speaking with the inspiring Jimena Alvarez. Jimena is not only a Millennium Fellowship holder, but she's also a Laidlaw scholar, a youth activist, an MUN enthusiast, and has also worked in political analysis and social media intern at the Embassy of Peru. With a deep passion for international relations and a commitment to advocacy, Jimena's work and experiences are worldwide, and they offer valuable insights into the intersection of youth, diplomacy, and global governance that are all key skills that we learn as MUN knows. Welcome, Amina. Can you start by telling us a little bit about your background and your journey to achieving all these amazing things?
Yeah, so hello, thank you so much for having me. I'm Jimena and I am a 20-year-old from Peru. I'm entering my final year in Trinity College Dublin, doing political science and economics. I think all my life I've always just been interested so much in diplomacy and global issues. I think definitely the thing that got me into this world was MUN. Doing it in high school was just like the peak for me. It was really, really fun to do, and I think it gave me a lot of the skills and insights into the world of diplomacy in general. After that, I got involved in, well, after the MUNs, I got involved in debating, I got involved in NGOs, and from there, just coming to college, I guess that just made it easier to be interested in things like the Millennium Fellowship, the Laidlaw Scholarship, and obviously working in the embassy. So I think it definitely was the foundation for all of my interests at the moment.
That's really cool. And it's so interesting that at such a young age, you're only 20, and your experiences and your awards and the amount of things that you've done, it's absolutely amazing. And it's so good to hear that MUN has played a part in it. So how does the fellowship and the Laidlaw scholarship, because it's UN academic impact that's also involved with it, how do you think it aligns with your personal interests and what you had aimed for yourself when you were younger?
I think something amazing about not only the Millennium Fellowship, but also the Laidlaw Scholarship is just how much independence it gave me. I was able to choose the projects that I was doing. So, for example, for the Laidlaw Scholarship, I was meant to do a research on any topic that I found interesting, and I did it on the integration of Ukrainian refugees in Ireland. And then I was able to go on my second summer to the Spanish Red Cross in Barcelona to work there for a while. And it was all up to me to decide, which just made everything so much better. And with the Millennium Fellowship as well, even though it's still on the works, it is a project and a plan that I get to do on my own, obviously with the support of the fellowship. But I think because they give me so much space for me to develop my own interests, it just makes the experience all the better.
That's so cool. And the fact that you're in Barcelona working with the Red Cross, would you want to tell us a little bit more about that? That
Yeah,
sounds
so
interesting.
it was a very fun experience. I had never been in Barcelona before, but I do speak Spanish, so I guess I was looking for that sense of familiarity. Working with them was truly amazing. I think a lot of the time when I've worked in NGOs before, or even doing projects like research and even MUN, I guess it was a lot of theory and talking about issues rather than being on the ground doing them. But being on the Red Cross definitely made a difference, and it was truly inspiring to work there.
That actually leads me to my next question because you said how MUNs and a lot of the key sources of youth activism, how it develops those key skills in us. It's a lot to do with theory and how it's a simulation, but it's exactly about what we extract from it. So how do you think that more young people like yourselves and can get integrated with these key skills and be more of a youth activist in the future?
The thing is, I'm a huge advocate for MUNs. I'm actually just convincing my little brother to start joining as well. And I think it's great for two different reasons. One of them being just in a practical way, you get so many skills by networking with talking to people that are also interested in these big topics. And ultimately, even though we're like just kids when I started anyway, these are the people that grow into being future leaders. And these are the people that you want to be surrounded by and inspired by as well. And on the other side, something else that MUN gives you is just an exposure to these global issues. Um, People sometimes say that you're too young to be talking about wars and genocide and things like that, but truly, there's no other better time.
Exactly.
Um, And I generally think that the knowledge that I've gained from MUN has been a million times more significant than the things that I've learned in the classroom. Even though obviously education is super important, MUN just has exposed me to the real world. Even if it's just in theory, it's that exposure that then leads you to do action.
Definitely, I totally agree with you. And the time is to start now. It is definitely like when I started MUN as well, I was quite young. I was only 13, and now I'm 21, and I've been all over the world doing MUNs, debating all kinds of things. And I think that's definitely to do with the fact that people want to delay, like, okay, let's like do it later. But the time is now. That was a really good quote, actually. So now coming to your role at working with the embassy in Peru. So you said you were a political analyst and the social media intern. That's a very interesting combination of skills. So any interesting experiences from that internship that you'd like to share with us?
Yeah, I think I've always been interested in social media, even though it's not something that I would necessarily want to pursue. It's just always caught my eye. And then in terms of the political analysis, thankfully, because I study political science, I've had a lot of experience, I guess, doing redactions about politics in general.
Mhm.
And being Peruvian myself, I do feel some closeness, I guess, to the embassy and the people working there. So it's been really fun, and it generally just feels like a home away from home, I guess. Um, and I guess another thing that's been really useful for me in getting involved with like the diplomacy world in the embassy is my work. Being the head photographer for the newspaper in Trinity, because I am just constantly in the places where things are happening, and then doing the political analysis for it, it just becomes easier. And because it is like analysis on like politics of Ireland, it's been really fun to get to know the country even better just through like analyzing it rather than just living in it and not being aware of my surroundings.
Definitely, and I'm glad that you got the opportunities at such a young age. Again, I'd like to emphasize she's only 20 and she's done so much. And that kind of brings me back to the Laidlaw scholarship because I feel like that deserves more attention. It's such an amazing opportunity and it's not given to many people. I know, like, you have to be really, like, it's one of the most well-renowned scholarships of the world. And I want to know, what did you think were the main challenges that you faced being young first, and also doing things that may have experienced older people around you, like maybe even their late 20s, like that's a big kind of jump. And knowing that you're just 20 now, I'm assuming you must be younger when you got the scholarship. So a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so it definitely was hard. I think I love to keep busy, so I'll apply to basically everything that is in front of me. But with the Layla scholarship specifically, even the Millennium one as well, it was really scary not getting it because suddenly it made a lot more sense just how big and important it was. I think one of the hardest things, or like one of the biggest challenges, is just the fact that I'm an undergraduate student, and because this is a research scholarship, it required doing things that usually postgraduates and master students do. But it's been just an amazing experience, and the Layla scholarship, Trinity in general, and basically every supervisor that I've had has been just so supportive. So it's definitely made it a lot better. But definitely my experience, just like I know I keep bringing it back, but thankfully it's like MUN Talks. MUN just taught me how to redact properly. It taught me how to engage and like converse with people that are like older than me, people that I don't know. And that was insanely helpful because my research was mainly based on interviews. So it meant talking about really serious topics at young age with people that I just don't know. But MUN definitely gave me the skill set for that.
Definitely. And I feel like you're right about the fact that since they're like research kind of scholarships, like you have like people around you that might be postgraduate candidates. And it's also a skill that you pick up over time. But definitely, like I coming back to MUN again, like we did the research that would go into like understanding global issues that are so complicated that even diplomats at a level aren't unable to understand. And we had to sit down and form resolutions. Do you think that the resolutions that we may have created in these MUNs are anyway useful now? And do you think it's one of the key aspects for youth diplomacy in that spectrum?
I definitely think so. I think even thinking back on like my MUN days, like going to different countries and meeting people from different places, every MUN was different, and some resolutions were a bit sillier and less serious than other ones. But I think what more important than the actual content itself was just the drive to do them. the drive to know that even though it's just a simulation, in that moment it feels so real, and you know that there's a problem you want to tackle, and you're willing to draft an amazing, detailed proposal about it, even if you're just a kid. I think that's definitely very meaningful. And sure, like I don't know if those draft resolutions are the most amazing, detailed, and feasible plans, but it definitely it's made by people that want to make a change, and that's what matters ultimately.
Definitely. It's like the first step for me, I think that as well. Now, I've also seen that you work with a lot of NGOs and civil society in like influencing international policy and promoting human rights. So, you've been actively advocating, I would say, for women and minorities. Would you like to speak a little bit more about your NGO work specifically?
Yeah, so when I was back in Peru, I founded this project that is, I believe it's still ongoing. I founded it and then obviously I had to leave. But it was to make education accessible for kids in rural area in Peru. And then from there, because I presented this to an NGO and then they took me in, I started working with them. And we did projects from anything from like projects related to poverty, projects related to women, children, etc. And it was a great way to get into the world of volunteering. Now that I'm here in Ireland, a lot of my help is mainly based on activism and also journalism through my photography and writing. But it's still something that I keep close to my heart. At the moment, the only volunteering that I'm doing is street outreach, which is basically just going around town with toiletries
Mhm.
and stuff like that. Um, so yeah.
That's definitely so good. I feel like it's the fact that you're still aiming to continue it as well that speaks volumes. Coming back to that, I feel like the work that you did is very closely related to sustainable development goals and the attainment of that. And I believe that if you don't mind explaining to our viewers the impact of the UN Millennium Fellowship, and I feel like, yes, you're definitely just starting out, but we'd love to hear like what impact it could potentially have on in a generic kind of societal way.
Yeah, I think I've had the UN sustainable goals close to me all my life. My dad worked in the UN, so it was just something that was very much present throughout my childhood. And having the Millennium Fellowship is just such an insane honor. And obviously, having those goals in mind is the main objective of the entire fellowship. At the moment, everything again is still in the plans, but I was thinking of doing a project actually making volunteering more accessible for school kids, because I think it's next to UN is one of the things that shaped me the most as a person, and I just don't think it's as accessible for Irish students at the moment. So that's kind of the plan, and also just focusing on another project based on entrepreneurship. This is not my plan. I'm just joining into the group, but it's also just to make entrepreneurs that have sustainable goals um, give them support and make the resources more available to them.
Definitely, I agree with you, and I think that it's quite a complicated journey. Yes, it takes time, but definitely like the fact that we're all kind of working towards it, and you specifically are, that's great to hear. Now we just kind of now more focus on just you and your aspirations because you've got best delegate awards in like all these conferences and like if you'd like to mention a few of them now as well, like
Yeah, so I've gone best delegate on the two Peruvian national on 2 different years. I cannot remember which ones. I'm pretty sure it was like 2019, 2018, or 2020. I got the Peruvian National Best Delegate Award, and then I also got Best Delegate on HMUN LA in Mexico. And I've gotten a few others like in school level, but I just cannot remember the names. And last year I was this is the only university level MUN that I've done, but it was the World MUN. It was really fun in Paris.
that is very good. And I feel like it's more about, rather than the award, always think it's like the fact that you're going out of your way to do them. Like just going to Mexico, just doing one in like at the National 2018, you must be so young as well. But that's all great to hear. So coming back to my actual question is that now that you've done all of this, you're 20, what are your future aspirations in the fields of international relations and political science, as that's what you're not only studying, but actively trying to pursue in your life?
I am torn between diplomacy and refugee studies. Well, my Laidlaw research was broadly based on migration and displacement. And following that, with my supervisor, I was able to become an intern just for the summer for the refugee language classes in Trinity. And that really just spoke a lot to me. So I think I would love to focus on something related to that. Although I still also have the kind of window open into diplomacy and journalism because it's something that I genuinely enjoy a lot. Perhaps just a mix of all three, to be fair.
And do you like foresee any future challenges that you might face when you're like going to, get experience in all of this? You definitely have experience now, but any challenges that you might experience to get more as a person of color or even as like an immigrant into Ireland?
Yeah, definitely. I think I am insanely lucky for being able to get a internship in the Peruvian embassy, but I also am very aware that it's the fact that I'm Peruvian that got me closer to the step. Whereas I know when I get offered or when I see in the career service in my university posts for like diplomacy jobs and internships, they're usually based or like made for European students. So that's a lot of the opportunities missed. But I'm also aware that I I'm aware of my diversity. I'm aware of my of who I am, and rather than trying to use it as a weakness, I just try to use it as a tool for myself. But I think one of the struggles that I kind of foresee is just the fact that I'm young and I'm a woman. People don't always take me seriously, even when I'm just doing like a photography job, journalism, things like that. But it's the fact that I take myself seriously that just makes a difference.
That is absolutely that. And to our viewers that are especially like from different parts of the world, some of them might be very young starting out. Like we've had a lot of events as part of our summit that we organize every year. And there are some events that are online, some that are offline, specifically to have more accessibility. There are so many of us out there that do not have the resources to maybe come to New York or maybe, actually travel. So is the fact that we give these students or these youth the knowledge and the assurance that no matter where you are and what age you are, woman or man, you are able to achieve what you want to achieve. You're able to help whenever you want to help. And on that note, I would. This was an amazing call, but I would love to get a message from you, if you'd like to let our listeners know, and especially those who are aspiring to make a difference in international relations and politics with the help of MUN.
Yeah, so what I would say, I think it's just what I literally just said now, but it's people are in your life are probably not going to take you seriously all the time for whatever reason. It's as long as you take yourself seriously and you know what you want, and especially if it's a positive goal, you're going to make it. It's just trying and trying, but believing in yourself, definitely, which I guess is like broken record, but it's just how it is.
No, that is 100% true. And I've had such an amazing time speaking to you, Mina, and this was absolutely enriching for not only me, but also the amount of viewers that we're going to have on this podcast. And I hope that you are able to achieve whatever you set out to achieve because I see you getting all of them and coming back again to our podcast ages later being as 20 more times or however many times more influential than you already are. But thank you so much again. Thank you everyone for listening. And this was an amazing first episode. See you soon.
Thank you so much for having me.
No problem.